Group signatures means that you can convince a verifier that you are a member of Purdue, but without identifying who you are. Okay, and they even say tomorrow you went to the same shop, they don't know yesterday you were there. Okay, so the unlinkability, this property has been really the driving force which guides the research in crypto community for a long time and still be. And they say, particularly if you are familiar with the notion of electronic cash, you will realize there are tons of literatures that are really driven by this need. So that is from one perspective. From another perspective, we can further classify the credential into two categories. One is non-anonymous and another anonymous. So for the non-anonymous, so this is kind of standard or scheme in which you have a certain components. So you need to bootstrap the system, and you need like a kind of authority to issue the credentials, and then you need a protocol for people to show other people that they do have the credentials. Okay. Now for the anonymous, there is one more component is unlimited revocation, which means that if there is something goes wrong, then the law enforcement or authority, they can trace it back to the guy who is accountable for that. So yeah, so this is some kind of definition. I will not get into it. So for the property, or what does that exactly means when we say a scheme is secure or a credential scheme is good? So we need to precisely specify the property. So in the case of anonymous credentials, we need the correctness and the unforgeability. So they are quite standard with kind of the digital signature scheme. So, and then for the anonymous credentials, we need a stronger version. In many cases, a stronger version of unforgeability, which is called full traceability and full anonymity. So by full traceability, which means that even if the adversary has compromised the many participants, even if the authority who is responsible for revoking anonymity, so it's still unable to fake any single new credential. Okay, so the notion of full anonymity means that even if your machine is compromised today, the transactions you have done yesterday or days ago is still okay. The adversary cannot get the information that you did those transactions. So these are kind of standard definitions, but it turns out that for these properties, it really took people many years to figure out. So actually in crypto, our main difficulty is really to how to precisely capture the definition. Yeah, then this is just some formal definition. Now, the second one is the policy. So we are accommodating the policy class of polynomial size, monotone threshold formula. Okay, so that is why we said that this policy is not strong enough in sense of the expression power. So here it means it's a formula circuit, and it has an OR and a threshold gets like a threshold circuit sharing or like a T out of 1. So if T out of any inputs is true, then sorry, I think this is a kind of so you probably already see a bug in the circuit. But anyway, so it shows if like 2 out of the 3 is true, then that output is true. Okay. So here the input wires, you can define whatever it is. So you are either a member of Purdue, or you could use say group signature, or use say other credentials I mentioned, identity or pseudonym or attribute. Okay, but overall. So this is the policy. This class of policy is accommodated, and then you get the input wire, and then you just traverse the circuit, and then you know the policy. You know if you have the credentials which satisfy the policy. So the access control is facilitated. So suppose the service provider has such a policy, but how should you convince the service provider, you have a satisfying assignment of this circuit, right? So the most straightforward way is you kind of eager, you just show all the credentials to the service provider. So the service provider can pick some of them as long as they lead to a satisfying assignment. But that would, really ruin many nice properties, particularly if you are not paranoid but they're fine with privacy or that kind of thing, right? So we of course want to do something better. Okay. Yeah, so that is really something bad that we want to avoid. So for this specific, we show that for many popular credentials, you can actually achieve much better. Okay, you don't even, by much better, you don't even need to show the verifier which credentials you have, let alone so whatever the value is. Okay, so the best that Azure can get is that he knows the service requester is one among all the possible users who possess the satisfying assignment to the policy. Okay, so because there could be a large number of people, then that is the policy the best you can hope for, right? And the third one is either cryptographic ingredients, which is for the Sigma protocols. So it's kind of a special zero knowledge proof. You have NP relation R, and then you have a prover and the verifier. The prover have a witness W of X, which belongs, is a certain NP relation. So it can be polynomial time verified, and so this kind of standard. So the characteristics of this kind of protocol is that it has 3 steps. First, the prover sends some commitment to the verifier. So if you create alpha and the verifier sends some challenge back to the prover, then the prover gives some answer to the challenge. So it's kind of a challenge response. And then the verifier will decide whether to accept the statement, which in this case is that you possess the witness W such that XW belongs to the NP relation R. Okay, so for this kind of construct, we lead 3 properties. One is called completeness, which means as long as you have such a rate list, then you can always succeed. Okay, and then there is some property called spatial sumness, which means that if I challenge you twice, and for both challenges you can give me the correct answer, then I can extract out your secret. Okay, that is something. So this is a kind of mental game which is used to capture this property of the protocol. Okay. And there is another property which is called spatial honest verifier, zero knowledge, which means that if the adversary is honest, then there is a probabilistic polynomial time simulator which can simulate the view, which means the interaction transcepts between the prover and the verifier without using anything except the common input X, so which is public. Okay, so this is a very nice ingredient invented by Ron Kramer back in '94 in his PhD thesis. So when we choose this ingredient as our building block, because it has a nice feature that it allows modular design. Okay, so modular composition is something really nice. And on the other hand, there are many credential schemes. They belong to this. They possess these properties. Okay, then that's the motivation why we use. And another feature is that for such Sigma protocol-based identification, even if the adversary is positive, then the signature scheme is secure in the strongest sense. So we kind of get something for free. So that is nice. Of course, it has certain limitations. We will see a little bit about it later.